So just like all the other big box stores, when you go looking for fertilizer, you have 1,000 different options and you have 20 different brands to look at. So which one should you pick? Which one is better? Is one better than the other one? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. So as you know, in every spring, that's when our weeds are going to start establishing themselves. Right when our soil temperature gets about 55 degrees, that's when all those seeds are going to start to germinate, and that's when the problems start. So that's where weed killers and pre-emergence come into play. So when you go to a big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace, they have all of these options, and they have so many different names: weed and feed, weed killer, crabgrass, triple action, dimension. And what does any of that mean to us? So let's start off talking about the most popular product that I've ever heard of, that you've heard of, I guarantee you've heard of it, and that's a weed and feed. Everybody has been using weed and feed forever because it gives you the two names of the things you want to do. You want to feed your lawn and you want to kill the weeds. So one bag does both, why not use it? So let's get into the differences that you may or may not see between a couple different bags, because you're going to see multiple brands that say weed and feed. We're just going to talk about Scott's and Virago. And guess what? They're exactly the same thing. They have the same NPK rating, give or take a few, but they're going to have the same main ingredient as the herbicide. Now, Scott's and Virago are virtually identical. They both have the same herbicide in them, and the NP and K is going to be very similar as well. So you don't have to go for Scott's just because it says Scott's. You can look at both bags and they're going to be virtually identical. So you can probably get away with the Virago if you want to save a few bucks, because you are going to save a few dollars out of Virago versus Scott's. So now let's move on and let's talk about Scott's triple action. And what Scott's triple action says it does is it says it prevents weeds from growing, it kills weeds that are already there, and it helps thicken up your lawn. So let's look at that a little bit. So the active ingredients in that is pendimethalin, 2,4-D, and dicamba. So pendimethalin does do that. It is a post and pre-emergent. So what that means is it's going to stop seeds from germinating, and if they've already germinated and they have a small amount of growth, it will stop both of those from growing even more. And that third ingredient is dicamba. And what dicamba is another broadleaf weed control. So a lot of your dandelions, a lot of your chickweed, some crabgrass, some stuff like that, it's going to help control that as well. So this is a little bit different than your standard weed feed because that has that pendimethalin in it, so it is a little bit of a pre-emergent as well, adding on to what it can do to your lawn. Now let's talk about the most hated weed in all of the world. I don't know of another weed that is hated more than this, and that is crabgrass. If crabgrass gets into your lawn, it can completely take over and ruin your lawn. So it's really important that you take care of this before it becomes a problem. And just like everything else, crabgrass starts to germinate when your soil gets to 55 degrees. So in just 1 or 2 weeks from now, we're going to be in that area. So this is the time that we need to address that before it becomes a real problem. And we're going to talk about the same thing that we talked about before, pendimethalin. So your crabgrass preventer from Scott's and Virago both have this same ingredient in it. Your NPK is going to be the same, and this main ingredient is the same. And triple action has it as well, right? So we're getting a whole lot of pre-emergence because that is the easiest way to take care of weeds. It's easier to stop them before they start than to try to control them once they get going. So next time you're in a big box store and you're looking for crabgrass preventer, make sure that you pay attention to the prices of the two. Right on the front of the bag, it's going to tell you its main ingredients. If your Scott's bag and your Virago bag are sitting right next to each other and they have the same thing, if one's priced lower than the other, buy the cheaper one because you're buying the same thing without the name. So hopefully this was helpful.